like a mafia. I don't know the words for that, but I think it's an Ellie Goulding song, and I quite like it. But I wanted to come on here today as I am en route somewhere else than normal and simply say that there is a lot of craziness happening right now, and there is a lot of speculation around when the financial markets are going to be hit and banks are going to freeze because they are the treasure banks that we are storing our goods in with trust in the very institutions that are ultimately pirates with a different brand and logo that has been used to command respect and trust and loyalty and all of those things which will mean nothing when things change behind the scenes at a higher level than what we have access to. And so all I want to do right now in this message is simply remind you how powerful you are as the co-creator of your reality, the conscious co-creator. Please know that when you actually feed the narratives that are circulating around when the collapse is going to come, I'm not saying it's not coming, and ultimately I've been saying for quite a long time, we need to be able to support one another through the transformation of self-image individually and collectively that we are all going to go through when that does happen. I'd say if, but the probability is, because there is a massive amount of corruption, which I've been doing my best to expose with the words which are spelt when we write them. Therefore, when we write all of the spells that have been cast by black magi, that is when we must see that there is going to be a changing of guards within the energy den of us and the collective den that we live in within Plan ET, Earth. So, it's an alternative perspective, as you know, not unfamiliar specifically, because this is often the concepts that I purport and sell as BS, belief systems, that I am not asking for anything in return for the information that I offer in this instance, nor the majority of any of the other offerings that I have given, simply because I do believe that I have tuned into a higher perspective that will help people actually take back their power, which is why I share it freely, because to whomever much is given, much is required. And I have been given a lot, and I feel very, 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 very blessed to be able to live with my papa and to have his support and the support of others who don't understand me, think I'm nuts or crazy, but do their best to love me anyway to the limits of what they can, and that's okay. Because ultimately, I've always been a lot. I've always been too much. And in recent years, I've become a lot more too much. And so I've accepted the fact that I trigger people. I activate people. And the things that I share are activations also. Because once you know, then you get to be like, yo, what was that? And then you can make a decision around that, right? There's a plane flying overhead making a lot of noise. I'm at a stop sign, which is my sign to wrap this up. I'm gonna go forward with listening to that, because that is the best way that we strengthen our relationship with the guru within, which is what the intuition is. Please know that any of the information that you have come across is hearsay, because you do not have official evidence that what has been said is going to happen. And I say this as one who 2 years ago was fearful that the systems were going to collapse back then, and as a cashier on the front lines at the beginning of this whole crock of like the con video game, which we are being played by, when we share someone else's narrative. Cave 77 just went by, and in my book, the reason why I shared Plato's allegory of the cave is because literally when you go outside of the norm, it's like exiting the cave, where the gurus on the outside have been using puppets and then casting shadows onto a wall that the people within the cave look at and say, oh, that is true. But Project Bluebeam, if you're not familiar with that yet, that is exactly how all of these external images are going to mess with your head and make you think that they're going ahead with the plan, the agendas, and all of the fear-mongering that's taking place. Well, going back to what I said about before the allegory of the cave, I'd mentioned being a cashier on the front lines. And I'll be honest, I thought that Shoppers Drug Mart or the Optimum, and I also claim the right to be a woman in my private capacity with all rights reserved at all times, sharing my belief systems as an artist freely and creatively without limitations. So any corporation that might say I don't have the right to share this information can say good night to any lawsuits, because I will take your suits off, because there is no entity that is going to actually be able to face off with me, for it will be the men and women acting on behalf of that corpse, where they are becoming half of it and therefore accruing the liability, accountability, and responsibility for harm, loss, or fraud caused to me by acting on behalf of that entity that they are paid to work for and ultimately sell their life force in order to do. Okay? So I'm just making that disclaimer. For this is the equivalent of a public service announcement. So if you are still listening, then you will get the PSA. When I worked on the front lines, I had a real fear that the optimum points that everyone collects and saves up until Christmas, I thought they were going to just lose them, crash the system. If the corpse folds, because it's already dead, if the corpse folds, and you have not acted ahead of when that happens, you lose everything and no one is liable, because there is no one in a corpse, right? So I fear-mongered in my own way. And I also believed a lot of the other BS around the scarcity and limitation and the craziness that I anticipated happening sooner than what it has. And so all of this is simply to say, no judgment to those who are trying to do your due diligence to warn others about what could change. But please know that what I shared with others based on hearsay of information that I knew because I had read it outside of myself instead of felt it in my heart to know the resonance of truth, none of it happened yet. It's not to say it won't, because obviously the divide and conquer war strategies of the Fabian societies, which is what I wrote about in Fully Committed, the Sacred Sojourn of Now, ultimately the strategy is to deplete the resources of those who get isolated and no longer are able to sustain their spirit and their will to actually stay present to fight and stand their ground, because now they're looking for food, survival. And if they, and by they, I mean us, because there is no us versus them, we are the ones that empower the corpses in an attempted corporatocratic takeover. So when I say, when they do what they have planned to us, that is a fallacy that is so common that I only catch it now and have previously too, but I spout it out because it is more familiar than the fact that we are them too. storm together, or we'll fall to it, fall prey to it. We fall prey to that which we pray to. And if we are idolizing anything outside of ourselves, we are idling our eyes on someone else's lies and then falling prey to it. See? Do you see with your eyes and inner eyes too? Do you see? That is what matters to me. Please take a breath. As I was sharing that, I got distracted because I realized that before I got onto the highway, I had said I was going to wrap it up because I followed the signs. And so I didn't do that because the sign said go. And so I did. So I am just a woman that is traveling through life, following the signs, symbols, and omens that may take me onto unblazed paths and territories that are not always nice. And you're doing the same, possibly in a more conventional way, because I have lived very uncommonly. 555, yeah, right? Change! In the tarot, 5 is the card of change and chaos and destruction and fighting, and I'm learning about all of that too, because instead of being knighted, just because it almost rhymed with fighting, I am learning how to read signs, symbols, omens that others have actually learned before me too. Because the tarot, there's a movie I was listening while I was doing all of what I was doing before I left to my papa. Television that he's idolizing his eyes on in order to give his energy to the vision that is on the television. And they were quoting a movie called Tora, 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 which is what the Japanese said as their way to declare victory in advance of Pearl Harbor, if my memory serves me correctly. And Torah and tarot are very similar. Not the same, like so much in this game. Please recognize that we are in the ultimate chess game. Our souls are on the line, and if we don't find the words to change the spells that are being cast, then we may go down with the universe, the one song that we choose to sing along with because we chose the wrong vision. I do not wish that for you, I do not wish that for me, and I do not wish that for any of ye who may listen to this message and say, who the fuck is she? Well, I am me. And I do curse sometimes, but I do not curse people as best as what I can. Though, please know that the reason children, our young people, are not being taught cursive handwriting is because if they know how to read it, they know how to write it, they can actually RIGHT it. And that is what the corpse does not want. So the indoctrination systems, institutions, say, nope, let's just not teach them that. It's not important anymore. We're moving all digital anyway. Well, I say a lot of things. I would love to know what you have felt about this message today. And please also know you are the Garden Eden. I went by Garden Ave, so I'm tying in the signs, symbols, omens that Paulo Coelho talks about in The Alchemist, which is a phenomenal fable about a boy that follows his dreams, just as I seem to be doing and am, for I am, and as are you. When you claim the right to insert the eye of intuition into the French word for I am, which is je suis. Oh, oui. Yes. Okay. So, as the Garden Eden, you must guard the energy den of your attention. For that is what makes you prey to someone else's play, or allows you to write the script that says, whatever happens, I will sit in the knowing of resonance, the knowing of truth, the feeling of truth. And I will do it in good company, because we have all been mastering our words. I've been doing my best too, and then I share that with you to hopefully help you be able to see through the BS belief systems that would have you feel as if you are less, for you are not. You are more than enough. You are enough as you are. In university, I had to do a play skit for one of my English classes where I have an English degree, so that helps. And when we had to choose which play we were going to do, we were given a bunch of titles, which is what we are ultimately given when we allow a personage, title, or status to change our identity. But the title of the plays, which is different but similar, not the same, just remember how common and often that comes up in today's world. The titles of these plays, the one that drew me to it, where I got a 98%, I do believe, because my team practiced and we did awesome and we perfected it. So on the day we were meant to perform it, we did, and we excelled at it. And it was very exciting. And that was more than 10 years ago. And ultimately, I don't remember anything about the play other than the title of it, which was Enough is as Good as a Feast. So I'm grateful that I chose that beast of all the ones that were given as options for me to tackle. Balu is what the license plate on that vehicle is. If it's on time, it's a fluke. Woohoo! Oh my god, it makes me think of Jungle Book. Baloo. I don't know what the significance of all of that is, but I'm just playing with the fluke of what I'm seeing on my path. And I hope that it will help you laugh your way present back into your heart and out of your head, because when you're in the mind trap of knowing the ledge that you were told is the edge of where you should go and what your comfort zone should be, well, you drop back in your heart, and then you got access to the whole moment, because no longer are you limited to just one aspect of it. Oh my goodness. Sometimes I delight in what flows through me because I am not thinking about any of it, which is why I do what I do without the script, for I write it as I go. I happen to record it, not write it in this moment, but you know, sometimes I do write it. And I'm grateful that I got Fully Committed, The Sacred Sojourn of Now, completed and published June 28th of 2022. So if you have yet to familiarize yourself with that opportunity to go into a rabbit hole that is based on my story about getting a summons, which was actually said to have been stayed on Tuesday, because it is unconscionable for the court to move forward when they have no jurisdiction over me, and because I know others there, they have stayed all of the cases that day, which others would say, oh Laura, your notices had nothing to do with it, but I beg to differ. I also got locked up under the Mental Health Act, which I openly talk about, and do have a diagnosis of bipolar, though I do believe we live in a universe of polarity, where there is an equal and opposite to everything, including our emotions, and when we actually live in the heart, we can process through and move through the energies in motion that need to move a lot faster. So I do not carry any shame for the diagnosis that I claim is a lie. I do not buy it, and I will not wear it proudly, for there are elements of truth to the description of it as to how I am in this world, and yet I choose not to be limited by it, because I do believe, as I say in the book that took 5 years for me to write in a month, the Mental Health Act only came into existence in direct relation with the insurance companies that made the DSM 54321 profitable to convert men and women into patients, and things that were less than, which could be spoken for. And I say, so much more, but not in this moment. I look forward to seeing what you have to say about this today, and say thank you very much for sticking with me for as long as what you have, if you're still with me now, because now is all we've got, and you've just chose to invest your team into me, and I appreciate and recognize and validate that choice. So hope that you have got something from it, and remind you that your team is based on your energetic resources of time, energy, effort, attention, and money. Warrior is right beside me. Yes! Ah, so cool. I am the founder of Peaceful Inner Warriors United and Untied from the Matrix where Ma tricks because she doesn't know better, and now we do because we're talking. It's 5-5 as the exit that is now in front, and I tell you why I do what I do, because it needs to be done, and I am the one that is called to do what I do the way that I do it, and so I do it without shame, because that is how we stay in the lane that is going slower, because we want to make others comfortable, and sometimes that's cool, and sometimes it's not necessary. Not everyone likes me, believe me. There are many who do not, and that is their loss. Sure, they might be nice people, but to judge me for being me means I don't wish to have a lot to do with those ones that are wearing masks, which are personas, which is where our persons come from, over top of their identity, and need me to too in order to feel more comfortable doing what is not true. So, no. I'm not going to pretend to be other than I am. I'm not going to wear a mask either on my face or in terms of who I act as if I am. For what we act as if we are, we become. James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. Much of which was based on the Buying Bull book. I'm sorry, the Bible. I know I've triggered you, Christians. Pardon me, and please don't take that to be disrespect. I believe there are good stories and parables and morals within the book, but I just want you to say it's the same with my book too, and any others who have written one that are still living in order to be able to speak into it with more detail. If there's 99% truth in a book, but there's 1% mistruth, such as what I shared at the beginning about my fear about the collapse that I anticipated would have come a lot sooner than what it has. If there's 1% falsehood or fear mixed into the truth, and we don't know how to feel the difference, we will be deceived. And that is when we buy the bull, which you take the bull by the horns and you ride that bitch all the way home. It just sounded fun to play with, and some will take that into naughty territory, and you do whatever you feel called to. Just recognize your innocence is your inner sense, and truth is felt. So when you're innocent, you are connected to your inner sense of what is right and what is wrong, and you may say that that was not on, and that's your choice. Once again, I'm not for everyone, but whoever I am not for, you may be, which is why we are the dots that must be connected. Whoa, that infinity vehicle just did a lot of illegal things to go really fast and be stopped in front of the car in front of me, or stopped behind the car in front of me. So that was just a synchronicity. You may believe it, you may not. It's all my BS, belief systems. You can take it, you can leave it, you can work with them. But ultimately, I just wish for you to feel empowered to play with this reality in a way that lets you stay creative instead of reactive. For creative and reactive are the same letters in a different order. It's time for the radio and for me to say goodbye. Could have shouted out, there's so much I want.